Well, tonight I'll be preaching part 3 of Pain and a Purpose, which is a series we're in the middle of at the moment. And I just want to start off tonight with just a bit of an encouragement. I don't know exactly who I'm talking to. I don't know if I'm talking to full-time believers. Maybe you've just walked in here for the first time. Maybe you're watching online. You've just randomly clicked on this. But I wanted to just start tonight off with the premise that I wanted people to know that God actually thinks highly of you. That God's not disappointed in people. He's not like, oh my gosh, look at the mess down on earth. Look at all everything that's going wrong, and I'm freaking out. This is disgusting. I think God looks at you so highly and so preciously. I think God gets excited when we all come together. I think God gets excited when people are asking about Him. And I want people just to know before we preach about pain into purpose that God's not trying to punish you. And if things have happened in your life, it's not a punishment because God's frowning upon you. But I believe God is in love and He loves His creation. And there's this thing where He loves you so much. He loves me, He loves you, He loves everyone so much that you and I couldn't even comprehend it. You and I couldn't even imagine it. And I don't know if I'm speaking to someone specific tonight and they go, well, I just walked in here and I didn't know how much God loved me and I've heard that before, whatever it is. But hear my heart tonight. God really, really does love people. Like He really loves you. I don't know if I'm talking to someone specifically. I'm talking to someone that is just trying to figure this out. But God really does, hear my heart, really, truly loves you. Like He's created you. He's got this plan for you. He's not just like, well, you were a mistake. He genuinely has a heart for you. And I wanted to start the premise off of that tonight because a lot of times we can think because of hardships and pain and all the things we're going to talk about tonight that we're not loved and we're not like God doesn't love us and we're not being chosen by Him and He's not trying to use us, that we must be cursed or God's afraid of us or God's frowned upon us. It's just simply not true. God loves us unbelievably. And the pain in your life is not related to how much He does or does not love you. He loves you unconditionally. You know, this week I was watching this podcast, and one of the guys, and it's a secular podcast, not a Christian podcast, and he said this quote, and I wanted to read it out. And it says here, the natural progression of life is to get better by going through trials, tribulations, and hardships. And I believe that we serve a God that will take the things that were designed to break you, and He will turn them around to build you. And so tonight I want to read this amazing scripture. It's Jesus Himself. Thought I'd bring Him into the series and talk about what He went through in His hardships. And Jesus kind of understands the whole pain and the purpose thing. He's like walked it. He's lived it. And I wanted to break down how He can relate to us, how we can understand what we're going through. And for Jesus, this is Jesus. I just want to emphasize that. This is Jesus. He has a moment in the scriptures where He knows He's about to go through pain, where He knows it's about to get tough, where He knows the season is going to be pretty wild, yet He doesn't just stand there and go, I can do this with flying colors, easy peasy. But He actually is challenged by the idea of His pain becoming purpose. And so in the scripture here we see Jesus, He gets His disciples and He goes somewhere and He says to them, let's go to this place and pray. And so in Matthew 26, 37, I'm going to read along tonight. And it says here, He took Peter along with Him and began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then He said to them, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. It's Jesus talking to His disciples. Going a little further, He fell on His face on the ground and prayed. He said, my Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as my will, but your will. Then He returns to the disciples, and it says here in verse 40, He returns to the disciples and He sees them sleeping. And He says to them, couldn't you men keep watching for me for 1 hour? And 41, He says here, it says, watched and He prayed, and He said, we need to watch and we need to pray so we don't fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. He then went away for the second time and prayed. My Father, He says, just Jesus, if it is possible, take this cup from me. Take it away unless I drink it. May your will be done. He then returns back to the disciples. And again, when He came back, He saw them sleeping again because their eyes were heavy. And 44 says here, so He left them and went away once more and prayed a third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to his disciples, and they were still sleeping and resting. Look, the hour has come, Jesus said. The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer. And I'm reading this, I'm trying to understand this, because there's something that I've learned about Jesus, is that he's so close to humanity, that he wants to be so close to you, that he wants to actually understand what it's like to walk the journey you walk. That even Jesus is struggling with the idea that I'm not just going to walk into this life and it's going to be all rainbows and lollipops, but there's a challenge and there's a pain that's about to be associated with my purpose. And so two things stand out to me in this verse. Jesus is about to face pain and go through something horrible. And these two things stand out to me, and I don't know if someone wants to hear this on their heart tonight. But number one is, rest assured, Jesus fully understands what you're currently going through. He understands your anxiety. He understands the fear of tomorrow. He understands that there's a trial and that you can be scared and there's pain that you're going through. Jesus actually understands. And the second thing is this. Pain doesn't just build your purpose. It was actually designed to also build your relationships. So we see this fascinating story unravel here, that Jesus is about to face pain. He's about to go to a place that none of us would want to go. And his number one concern was, hey guys, why are you sleeping on me? Why aren't you there for me? You're not doing this, I'm about to do this, I'm about to walk through something. And he says, I need you. And when it comes to pain and the purpose, I'm speaking to the local church, I'm speaking to you and I tonight, that even Jesus needed somebody in his pain. Even Jesus needed someone to walk beside him, to pray with him. See, pain isn't just for purpose, it's also to build relationships. And what I've learned in my short time on earth is the people that stand by you in the tough seasons are the backbone of your pain into purpose. Jesus, the whole reason why we're here tonight, still needed someone to lean on when it came to going through his pain into purpose. And I don't know about you tonight, but I want to encourage someone, and I'm speaking to myself, I'm preaching to whoever wants to hear this. Can we be the kind of church that says, we've got your back? Can we be the kind of people that the person next to us, we go, we got your back. I got your back. I'm praying with you. I'm standing with you, because the backbone of us making it is not whether we're awesome with flying colors and look at us go. The actual result of us making it is there are people that will stand beside people in their pain so that they can inherit purpose. There's so many times in my own life where I've lost faith myself as a Christ follower, as someone that loves God, runs a church. There's times where I've not been sure. And I'll tell you now a testimony. It's those that checked in on me. It's those that drove me to the hospital. It's those that dropped me off a meal that made the difference from me getting out of my pain and stepping into my purpose. Can I encourage someone tonight? We're all called. We're all being ordained. We're all here tonight, not just to consume the gospel, but to be the gospel. And I want to let you know tonight, our church is going to stand on the foundation that we've got each other's backs. This isn't a series just about your pain into purpose. This is a series about us walking together in pain, walking next to someone in pain, praying for the person next to him in pain and saying, you know what? I believe in your purpose. I believe in your calling. I believe in your destination. You know, I want to honor the ones that are still standing. I chucked this in my message this week, and I just wanted to thank those that are still standing. I mean, come on, I believe we're all called for God to use us for some good things. But who knows that those that have stood through the test of time, those that have been through war, those that have been through pain, those that have been through sickness, I just want to just honor you tonight and say thank you for still standing. Thank you for still holding on to your faith to God. Thank you for still being here tonight and going, no matter what's been thrown away, I'm still standing here. I'm still here. That's a testimony to God's grace in our lives. And for those, I just want to encourage you that maybe hearing my voice on or online, I just want to encourage you with this. I think it's a time for us to start praying again. It's time for us to start giving again. It's time for us to start checking in on a neighbor again. It's time for us to start loving and telling someone, hey, I love you. Tell them tonight, I love you, neighbor, again. Because standing with someone when things get tough make a big difference. And I don't know if anyone tonight is maybe challenged by what I'm saying, but what I'm reading here is that this is why the local church is so important. This is why us gathering here tonight is so important, because there's people that have walked in here tonight with pain. There's people that have walked in with trials. There's people that have walked in with stuff going on. And I believe that we are going to be the church that has your back. We're calling all people in the room, let's have each other's backs. You know, relationships are built on tough times. Relationships are cemented in tough times. And I want you right now, if you have a tough time, or you're having a tough time, don't run from the people next to you. Lean in to the people next to you. Because even Jesus needed somebody. You know, there's something powerful about God and togetherness. And I just want to get off that verse for a second and go into what James said. And I'm going to read it here and then see how this makes sense for us in pain and to purpose. But James is this verse here, 1:2-6. And I just want to read it to you and then move on from there. But it says here, James, he writes this and he says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that you are getting tested on your faith and it will produce perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and ready and complete, not lacking anything. And if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously, all without finding fault, and He will give it to you. But when you ask, you must believe," hear this, church, "you must believe and not doubt, because when one doubts, they're like a wave in the sea, blown, tossed, and in the wind." And so here's the reality. Pain takes people out. Things going wrong takes people out. Things going wrong in this earth removes us from callings. It removes us from churches. It removes us from what God's trying to do. And I'm saying here, James is saying, hang on a minute. When I see that there's a trial, I'm not going to say, well, I'm cursed. He's going to say, now I'm celebrating because God's about to use my life for something great. And I want to say this tonight, that all of us have been called to do something great. All of us. You know, this week, this is what James is saying is so important. We went away to the Hunter Valley. We went to the Christmas lights. And yes, I know we went after Christmas, but that's because we don't like people. So we go when no one's there. And that's my grandparents' idea, not mine. I'm a pastor. I love people. But they were like, let's go when no one's there. So my grandparents, shout out to my grandparents, by the way. They're like all embarrassed. But you took us away, so thank you for that. I appreciate the gift. But we went away to the Hunter Valley, and I was there, and we were hanging out, having some time. And Grandma and Papa decided to shout us and take us to this place, and it's called the Hunter Valley Gardens, and there's all these lights, and I don't know if anyone's ever been there, but it's all these Christmas lights, and it's wonderful, and we wanted to go check it out. We took the kids with us. And when I was stepping into the place, it was nice, but it was just kind of nice. And for example, I got some photos here. This is us turning up on the day. There's us, beautiful family. You can see the green in the background there, and there's a few other photos of us here. There you go, there's a Ferris wheel. I thought, no, it's not a Ferris wheel, that's a carousel, merry-go-round carousel, those fancy people out there. There's Kirsten the teacup, that's right before she spewed. And there's a little rock there, my grandparents. And this is us. We got there when the sun was still up. So we're there, and we're doing our thing, and as you can see, it's still beautiful, but we're doing our thing. And we're enjoying the time there when the sun's up. But when I was there, God was speaking to me, and He was, getting ready for tonight and what I want to speak about. And something magical happened when the sun began to go down. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, we knew we were in the place. We knew it was going to happen. We knew that we could see outlines of deers and we could see outlines of stars. But when the true beauty started to come out of the night is when the sun went down. And these photos here were only like a couple of hours later. This is starting to get dark, as you can see there. That's one of my favorite sculptures over there. And then we've got this here. See, it's all come to life there. Looking beautiful. There's Pop and Dow with the trains. And then there's me and Love. Look at me. And then Blazy, I was like kicking him after that photo. I was like, let me get a kiss. See, you see in that photo, Blaze actually has his shirt off. Funny thing was, I don't know what happened, but it was nighttime, and he's back there. And he took his shirt off because it was like 40 degrees, and he kept coming to me and going, Dad, I'm so sweaty. I'm the sweatiest boy. You should smell my armpits. And he was like blowing, and I was like, dude, get out of here. And him and Dallas both had their shirts off, and but that was us, and that was in the Hunter Valley. And we finished the weekend, and we finished the time there. Then it made me realize something for our own lives. Like, you think about your life right now, you think about the things you've gone through and the pain we're walking through. And the thing is, we knew the lights were there. The show actually brags about it. It says we have over 1 million lights when you walk in. We knew the lights were there. We saw the sculptures. We knew what we had signed up for. But the reality was the true beauty only showed when the sun went down. The true beauty of why we had paid the big bucks to be there was when the lights came on. The true beauty of the enjoyment of the weekend and what we were there for was when it got dark. And I don't know if someone needs to hear this, and this is what I got out. This is God speaking to me for a second. But here's the reality about your life. That even if it is dark, and even if it is grim, even if it is going bad and you're full of pain, I believe that's when God shines the brightest light on your life. I believe that's when the true beauty comes out within us. Sometimes your light is brighter in the darkness. Hope, grace, love, and generosity all hits harder when we're in dark times. I wonder if someone can visualize what I showed just before and think about your life like that. You think, well, as long as the sun's out, I'm doing fine. As long as, no one really knows what's going on, and I've got a bit of pain, I've got a bit of stuff, but as long as I'm just doing my thing, I turn up to church and I'm here and then that's what it is. As long as no one knows that I'm in the dark. As long as no one knows what's happening at home. As long as no one knows the pain I'm really going through. As long as no one knows, then I'll be okay. But see, we didn't pay to go see the lights just to be okay. We didn't go early just to enjoy them while the sun was up and then leave before the sun went down. We actually went because when it got dark, it actually got bright. When the sun went down, beauty started to show. When the sun went away, then we saw the colors and the beauty. And here's what I want to say to someone tonight that's going through some pain. That it's in your darkness, it's in your trial, it's in what you're going through where your light's going to shine the brightest. Here's one for those that are thinking they're just here tonight. When the person next to you is in darkness, when the world's in darkness, when it looks like we just turned up when the sun was still up. But then the sun goes down and the world's looking bad. I'm feeling sad. It's dark. It's gloomy. I believe they're the moments where our light shines the brightest. I believe that's when you shine the brightest. I believe that's when you sit next to your neighbor and you say, I love you. I got you. I'm going to check in on you. I believe that it's in the darkest places of this world, God's light shines the brightest. And I'm speaking to someone tonight that's a son or daughter of God. Mark my words, you might think the darkness has disqualified you, but I believe it's rising your brightness up so that people know your testimony, they know your story, they know the beauty that happened in the ashes. And right now it's going to get beautiful and more brighter than you can imagine. You've got to stand up in the darkness and say, I'm a child of God. I'm bright. I'm shining. God's going to do something in this. It doesn't matter how dark it looks around me. I know something's shining from within me. Beauty only came because the sun went down. And I believe on this earth, whether the church is going bad, your marriage is going bad, your life's going bad, your depression's going bad, or the schoolyard or your workplace is going bad, that is the one opportunity we have to be the light. I'm almost waiting for the sun to go down so I can show what God can do in my life. And I believe some people tonight needed to hear this. You think because you're in dark times, God can't use you. But mark my words, it's not over yet. It's not done. And I'm here to tell you, friend, it's about to get way more beautiful. It's about to get way more brighter. And we know this because my last point tonight is we read the rest of the crucifixion. In Luke, we find here Jesus had actually been taken by the betrayers. Pretty sad day. Pretty painful moment. He got crucified on the cross. He died. They buried him in the tomb. And that's what happened. Yet the disciples, the same disciples that were hanging around, that were in the garden, some of the ones that were around when Jesus was like, come on guys, stand with me, pray with me, stay with me. They went to go check in. And what they realized is that Jesus was no longer there. Hang on a minute. This is the guy that has walked through pain, death, suffering, understands humanity, and here he is not where he should be. And so in Luke it says here that they say he's not here. He has risen. Remember how he told you why he was still with us in Galilee? That the Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of sinners, crucified, and on the third day he will rise again. In verse 8 they say something very powerful. It says, then they remembered his words. Now, I don't know who I'm talking to tonight. Maybe I'm talking to myself, so you can just listen to me talk to myself for a second. But when I'm in pain, when I've been disappointed, when I've been let down, when I'm not sure why the sickness went away, when I'm not sure why I'm going through this, I want to scream the verse 8 and say, but then I'm going to remember his words. I'm going to remember what happened. Because if there's anything the cross showed me, and this is for all of us tonight, if there's anything the cross showed me, and hear my heart, what the cross showed me is that there's always death before life. There's always going to be pain before purpose. There's always going to be sacrifice before abundance. And sometimes our faith has been misunderstood. That if it's going wrong, then it's gone wrong. But I'm here to tell you that if it's gone wrong, something right's about to happen. Because Jesus shows me that there's always death before life. There's always something that goes before something comes. There's always something that has to be pruned before something can grow back. And tonight you might be in the middle of your pain to purpose journey. You might be here going, well, I don't know about all this stuff in my life. I don't know if it could ever be something good. I don't know if it ever could change my life. I don't know if it ever could make a difference. I'm here to tell you now, that's not you being punished and pruned back. That's so God can make a way for your life. That there's always death before there's life. And I'm preaching this with conviction and passion. Because so many times in my own life, in faith, and the local church and those wanting to believe in God, we seem to get up and get out when the death comes. We're done when the death comes. We don't believe when the death comes. We leave as the death comes. We give up our hope in God when the death comes. And Jesus showed us to hang in there, because 3 days later, after there's always a death in your life, 3 days later there's about to be life in your life. That there's something that will change in your life. One of the biggest things we misunderstand is we think, oh, we'll avoid sacrifice. We'll avoid hardships. I can try to avoid hardships. We all try it. Well, sometimes we're left here going, God, I trusted and loved you, and I came to church, and I'm here, but why am I being treated misfairly and unfairly? And these are all human thoughts we get. But hear my heart tonight. I want to talk to someone real clear. life always. Not sometimes. I need to rephrase this. Someone needs to have this on your heart. I know you're hurting right now, and I know that you've been through some stuff. I know we've all lived life, but listen to me now. When you put your trust in God, when you say, God, I'm going to trust in you, death will always become life. Death in your life will always become life in your life if you trust in Him. There's always life after death. And when we're in the middle of death and when we're there and we're facing it and all these things are going wrong, I want to remind myself, I want to remind this church that whenever there's death, there's always life around the corner. There's always life after death when God's involved. And as the band comes, pain into purpose is a journey we're all on. It's something we're all going to go through. It's something we will all face. It's something we will all have to step into. There's one encouragement I can leave you with tonight, is that God will always take the things that were meant to break you, and He will turn it around to build you. Some of the greatest people in my life, in our faith, in this church, are the ones that didn't have the perfect story, but they also didn't jump the ship when the ship was rocking. Some of the greatest people I look up to and I admire are not the ones that had a perfect life. They're the ones that had a life that was pretty messed up, but they stood at the end of that life and said, my God, it's still good. Some of the greatest testimonies I've ever seen is not people that had a fantastic, perfect faith, but it was those that had trouble and trials in their faith. But at the end of it, they still had faith that God's still a good God. And I want to encourage every son and daughter in this room tonight that can hear my voice. Sometimes you have to realize death comes before life. And if there's something you're hanging on to, if there's something that's hurting you, if there's some unforgiveness or pain, now's the time to bury it. Now's the time to release it. Now's the time to say, I'm putting down my pain and I'm picking up my purpose. Now's the time to let go of the death so that life can begin. Allow your pain from your past to become the purpose of your today. Pain into purpose. Beauty where we can't see beauty. It's like God does everything backwards. It has to get dark before it can get bright.